Yeah, I wanted just to go to Sergeant Buchanan, and I think all of us are hopeful that your friend Andrew will be back here soon. But what advice, I think, I'd ask, would you give him and us on how best to approach his PTSD treatment? And I would also ask that question of Mr. Hegseth, since he's a veteran and works regularly with those who have gone through something of what Andrew has gone through.
Thank you for your question, Congressman Royce. He needs to be with his brothers, the guys that trained with him, deployed with him, know what he's going through. It doesn't matter what branch, what your job was. We all wore a uniform, and that's what we have in common. And that's something outside of the military when you're readjusting, you know. That's something about Sergeant Tahmooressi is his humble attitude. He has a servant's heart. He always wants to help. And part of the problem with that is he'll help other people before he helps himself. And that he had just started the VA treatment, the process. He was just at the beginning getting diagnosed. That's nothing. That's the first of many steps, and it's a long process, the VA system. And you know, we need to get him in there, get him with his friends, start the healing process, because like everyone was saying, isolation is the last thing a Marine, a combat vet needs, that's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. So.
And I'll go to Mr. Hegseth. You mentioned also, I mean, the trade that the United States made for 5 senior Taliban leaders, including former Director of Intelligence for the Taliban, one of their senior commanders, one was Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff was implicated in the death of thousands of Shia. All 5 had been involved in coordinating attacks against American and coalition forces, and 3 of the 5 were directly linked to al-Qaeda. Now, the United States has taken an action to get them released, and one of those 5 in Qatar today already told a senior Taliban official, this was reported on the news, that his next step would be to try to return to Afghanistan in order to carry out attacks against American and coalition forces there. Let me ask you your thoughts on this and what can be done in order to secure the release of Sergeant Tahmooressi.
Me and my men guarded those 5 detainees at Guantanamo Bay for a year. This is something that's incredibly personal for all those that have served, and specifically those that have served in those combat zones. To know what it took, to know the number of boots that were on the ground that sought those men, to lock those men up so that we don't have to face them again, and then to know that our government is willing to give them away. And then a rose garden ceremony with a family of someone who everyone knows who's looked at the case deserted his unit. And then Ms. Tahmooressi can't get a phone call. And we hear all about a pen and a phone. Use your pen and your phone and call the President of Mexico and get this done. It's not hard, and it's not political. It's personal for people that know it. And Sergeant Buchanan was perfect on his remarks about the VA. It's peer-to-peer counseling. It's being and talking to the men that you've served with. And oftentimes at the VA, there's also alternative therapy. The question also, and this is not the hearing for the Department of Veterans Affairs, but Ms. Gabbard, you talked about bureaucracy. How many Sergeant Jones and Sergeant Smiths are attempting to access mental health care at the VA, and then they're made to wait weeks and months? You know how many mothers I meet on the road when we do events that come up to me and said, I lost my son to suicide as he was waiting for treatment at the Department of Veterans Affairs? That is a scandal just like this one, and another instance where our nation turns its backs, as Lieutenant Commander Williams talked about, on those who have given so much for this nation. So trading deserters for terrorists and making veterans wait for basic care, unacceptable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.